Okay, Libra. Hello, welcome to Catalyst Energies and welcome to your new moon astrology forecast. We are looking at the new moon in Pisces on March 2nd, 2022. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome if you're new to this channel. Thank you for being here. This report is for Libra rising, Libra moon, Libra sun, and it's really just a forecast of the general themes that are going to unfold for Libra over the course of the next 2 weeks. We're going to lead up to the full moon as we do on these forecasts, and just look at the areas of life that are most likely to be impacted by the transiting astrology. So we're looking at Western astrology or tropical astrology, and the new moon for Libra is in the sixth house. Not only that, it's a Pisces new moon. Pluto and Neptune are here. This new moon is conjunct Jupiter. Not Pluto, Jupiter, sorry. Jupiter and Neptune are here, both co-ruling Pisces as well, right? This is Zeus and Poseidon, they're brothers, or Anki and Enlil, right? You can think about that as well. They both have dominion of this area of the spirit and the spirit of consciousness and forgiveness and compassion, all of these Piscean energies, right? This is the woo, so to speak. And so Libra, it's been years since Neptune has been in this area and Jupiter now coming into this area, and to have a new moon, it's really now time to align yourself, to get yourself oriented to a symbol of a vision, a representation of truly of bringing this spiritual ideal into service, and to initiate a growth process within yourself of aligning with this symbol, whatever it is. And this new moon is very much related to, it's got this galactic avatar energy to it. The degree of Pisces is its Syrian starseed marking, and the Syrian starseeds definitely have such a strong spiritual connection to the world around them, to the point where they are, the wizards and the shamans and the energy workers, and they have a very strong connection to the animals, the plants, the community, and they act as guardians in this process. So Libra, you are really now coming into more of the reconstitution period of the area of your sixth house that has been very diffused since Neptune came into Pisces, which was, I believe, around 2011. So it's been a number of years that the release or surrender to this spiritual transcendental nature coming into your works and your service is now starting to find some meaning, some solidification, and now an activation of personal growth in this realm, in alignment with some sort of, avatar, some sort of representative that exemplifies, the highest ideals of a cohesive society and a spiritual and awakened society. But it's really about your works, right? Your daily activity, your habits, your routines, or your healing process as well, and bringing an element of sacredness to what that. How you labor, how do you utilize your resources? It's now starting to be very initiatory, if that feels right. So when the full moon happens 2 weeks from now, and we'll come back and look at the journey there, but let's look at where this is going to culminate, at least, which is this full moon in Virgo in your 12th house. And so this is the house of the collective unconscious as a whole, or going back to the Akash, or more the astral realm. So when the moon comes into this area, there is an experience often of being way more sensitive and intuitively connected to this realm, the astral realm, the unseen, the realm of fantasy and dream, but also the collective voice and the collective unconscious voice. And this is also the realm of karmic cycles coming to a close, the realm of isolation through either detainment or hospitalization, or even by choice, like through a retreat. This is where you get back to the source by returning to the essence of what holds it all together, which is love, right? And the 12th house for you, I mean, at this full moon, it's there are going to be aspects about you and your identity within this reconstituting phase, right? This disciplined phase, or this, works phase, especially with the sun now in Pisces. It's you're like polishing yourself and the container of your daily life and the way you use your resources into like this polished crystal or prism that at this moment is going to refract this beautiful rainbow, and it's going to be in the realm of the unseen, the fantastical, the dreamy, the imaginative, the mystical, the astral, the 12th house, and the collective unconscious, that you're going to feel the full extent of this experience, right? The intensity of it, and also your ability emotionally to gather yourself in the midst of this very transcendental experience. When you become, when you feel the sense of oneness with everything and everything that comes with, there is a moment that the Virgo personality comes to a moment of seizing that willpower in order to maintain, the boundary, because that's Pisces realm is where the boundaries go away. And this has a lot to do with bringing that sense of boundaryless into your everyday life and your works and your routines. And so the full moon is going to be very revealing in terms of your ability to manage yourself within these realms. If you're going to step into habit or routine that is bringing the sacred into every action, or to your service work to be and your service to others, and the work you do with yourself as well, to be very much transcendental and more in tune with the collective unconscious. Your own emotional capacity is going to be very full when it comes into its relationship with this astral realm. And so it's going to be very revealing for all of us. But for Libra, if you're, how far you've come in terms of Neptune moving through this realm, like I said, you're in this reconstitution type of phase, or at least where there is meaning and a sense of dharma involved. And it's an important word to consider as we talk more about this. So what else is happening at this new moon? Is Mercury and Saturn are together in your 5th house. I mean, this is, kind of a reality check in a lot of ways for us as a whole, in terms of what it takes and how much energy is available to us from the social environment as a whole. And in the case of you, Libra, this is the area where you really shine as an individual, the ability to find your voice within the energy of the collective, if that makes sense, and the being able to connect to the social frequency or bandwidth is part of the Libra's true expression, right? The characterization is very intellectual and very knowledge oriented for the Libra person in terms of how they express themselves, but also in terms of not just ideas or even the application of ideas, but the actual consciousness that flows through a collective is something that the Libra person has it gets excited about, right? And wants to be part of and wants to participate in. And so, but that also means that with Mercury and Saturn here, and them coming together at this same time, this Saturn really keeps you from doing really risky things, like uncalculated risky things, when it's in the 5th house. Sometimes it feels like it's a wet blanket, or like more than a wet blanket, like an actual limiting force that keeps you from actually accessing joy and just keeps you in like full responsibility. But I think that with Mercury here as well in an air sign where it had been retrograde for so long, that finally you realize the strength of your own voice and the energy of your own voice when it is in alignment with the collective bandwidth, and how that's going to do damage control on areas that I think really might need it. Because the fifth house is where we find our joy. And if there are things going on in the collective for Libra people that impacts that, I think that we can have an experience of like, where is our joy? And I think the joy comes from being in alignment with the bandwidth for Libra in a way that you're like, okay, I know what I need to, I know how I can harness the most of this situation. I know where and what frequency to tap into, and using the mind, right? In the realm of the mind and the nervous system. Now, Venus and Mars and Pluto in the fourth house. There's been so much this is where a lot of the damage is is in the fourth house of home and family of origin and customs and our inner and private life. I mean, Pluto's just been, really destroying this area for the sake of rebirth. And believe me, there's more to come, whereas Pluto will go retrograde and we go into this fallow period where it's just empty. And it will go and pass over where Venus and Mars, it will pass both over. Well, no, I don't think it will, actually. Venus and Mars are going to pass over it, actually, in the next day or so. And then they're going to conjunct in Aquarius. So they're assessing the damage at some self-esteem and some character. Also, some damage or some power extracted in some way, in terms of the family or emotional security. Maybe it's in the destruction of those entities or those connections that we, Libra people may have been discovering their power and now are ready to not only assess, but to make, come into communion with the masculine and feminine parts of ourselves in order to set down new seeds and with the intention of new roots growing. But it hasn't been easy, and it's been emotionally very difficult, I think, for the Libra in terms of this. So the new moon again is like, let's get our shit together. Like, what is for the Libra person, what is representing now, and who am I? Who am I in my everyday life that actually is a representative of this symbol of courage, that other people can see an example in? So Uranus is part of this story because it's in a sextile to this new moon. I mean, the Sun and Jupiter are going to be conjunct in a matter of days as well. And so, it hasn't, the realm of shared resources has not been very steady. And the area that, where power is truly generated in cooperation or exploitation, manipulation, sexual intimacy. This is where betrayal and trust really find themselves, because the eighth house is the darkness of the shadow that is inevitable with everything. And so this really does have to do with power generated, though. And this is the area of the soul's evolution for the Libra person, but it has not been an easy ride, and it hasn't been very stable, which it's very hard to develop trust and very hard to allow intimacy when it feels like that you can't even generate power because the resources themselves are shifting around so much. But this is, in fact, the area, Libra, where you are being drawn to in order to evolve at a soul level and to identify, the value and worth of your own, your own resources in this area of shared resources. And I think this is, a lot of value stuff is coming up right now for you, Libra, that I'm just, having awareness of. So, but it's in this lack of stability in this area, this sextile to the Sun and then the new moon, which is, there's nothing to settle on in this area. Like, what you want, is shifting around, just like all of us, right? The reality is glitching. And so how can you even trust a communal situation? How do you trust that you can even generate power when the source of it is like, Taurus is not stable or not something that we can rely on necessarily. And I think everybody can relate to that, but Libra in particular, in terms of literal power generation, unless you're willing to think outside of the box with Uranus, which is definitely a way to harness this, and also too to realize that the glitching of this reality and the power that comes from this, how not fixed it actually is, I think is a really important point for Libra in terms of how it can invest this energy into, again, aligning with a symbol that represents how the Libra person wants to live their everyday life. Maybe there wouldn't be that realization that was even a possibility, that space wouldn't have even been created without the consistent upheaval that Uranus represents, because what it does is wakes you up. And considering that the North Node here in Taurus as well, I mean, this is the area that not only you wake up, but you evolve in, which again, trust, intimacy, power generated, resources in a business relationship, the shared resources, so, cooperation and communion and ritual. This is where the power of ritual really stands out. So this conversation with Uranus is really part of all of this, but definitely the new moon, for sure. So let's go to the first real challenge here, which is going to be the first quarter square, just like all of them, right? Just like all of them, these quarter moons are where we first get really tested from our new moon and full moon. So, and it's the moon in Gemini. Black moon Lilith is in retrograde, so that's in Gemini. These two are really going to, they're coming into communion with each other, conjunction, in Gemini. So, I mean, just a lot of a lot of emotional territory to discover, right? Nothing to really settle on, and maybe not a lot of emotional stability, because you're really considering all of the options. And this is in terms of belief systems, right? This is in terms of the advanced training, the bigger picture, the mystical travel, the foreign travel, the higher education, because that's where you develop understanding. This is also the realm of alchemy and transmutation. Again, this is the friction of the dialectic actually creating something new, which is understanding and higher mind. And so while the sun here is still in the sixth house and really just drawing your sustainment and your identification with your everyday works, and what you're doing on a regular, on the sixth house is not very glamorous, right? That's the fifth house. And at least now you have Mercury coming into this point at the same time you're having this square experience, because now at least the mental realm or the mental faculties are starting to analyze a lot of what is known or perceived and put to use, manage these resources, crunch the numbers, analyze this experience with patterns, and a sense of pattern recognition and a sense of problem solving in some ways in this area. And it's imaginative, right? There's no boundary of what we can imagine with Mercury and Pisces. And so, anything that might be stuck here, especially when it comes to belief systems being challenged by the sun here in still in the sixth house, about like what is the practical everyday application of this, and feeling a strong urge to really kind of pull in or go inward, or to be and very hyper, I would say, sensitive to belief systems that have, the multitude of them, never wanting to kind of make a decision about this, never wanting to eventually settle on any number of ideas, because they're all presented in front of us, and you just want to be able to put what you want on your plate, and feeling a sense of like, I don't want to say ownership, but with Black Moon Lilith, like it's very primal and like a sense of survival that's also got this overlay of our own emotions attached to it, that I think is really going to challenge your identification with really giving yourself over to yourself. And with Venus, with Neptune and Jupiter involved, and now Mercury in this area, it's there's no boundary to what you can imagine. There's no limit to the spiritual works, right? And the amount of love that you have to offer and guidance in a lot of ways. And Mercury here, like really offering those types of practical reasoning skills to this area without being bound by anything, right? Being able to really swim in the waters. But I do get this sense that the sun here that is asking you to trust yourself and timing, right? And surrender to the timing of things. Because there has to be a choice made. I think that's really what's going to be challenged here, is that choice that's made at the new moon of exactly what you want to align yourself with. Because up here, it's going to feel like, I want access to the multitude of belief systems and be able to play in that realm. And it'll feel like that that's the only way you can survive. And is to never settle on anything. And this is going to really challenge this first quarter square is going to really challenge this. And like I said, it's a good thing Mercury's coming in here to give backup and be like, yes, I'm not limited by anything but my own imagination, but I have cognitive reasoning and function and pattern recognition and a sense of analysis that's naturally comfortable in the 6th house. Because again, there will have to be a choice to be made. You'll have to choose to align with this symbol, something, anything that you can align yourself with that represents this image or the symbol, or what kind of avatar do you want to be? This is Libra. This is a function of you wanting to be able to thinking that this is, I think, you can't ever transfigure yourself. You try to be embedded in every belief system that you can. And that's not going to, it's just you can feel it. You're going to feel the strain of this. And it's the first real challenge, the first quarter moon squaring the sun. So what else is happening? Well, you can also see that Saturn, speaking of which, is going to be trine this moon directly. And since these is an air trine with air signs, I'm actually going to talk about this one with you because, again, Saturn is still in the 5th house, bringing... sometimes this can be such a buzzkill, right? Because you really are coming back down to the authority here. But like I said, this really also keeps you from getting out of your lane or taking unnecessary risks. And at this point in particular, there is a message here. And this is what I really want to impress upon you, Libra, that at this moment, it's going to be in the realm of your own heart. That as limiting as is it going to feel like, it's going to be a message, a spiritual message in your heart. Okay, please pay attention to it. And it's actually going to be directly trine the moon at the moment of this sun. And so while there is that natural tension there between how we feel and how we express ourselves, it's this authority in this sense of stability here in the 5th house that's going to anchor what's going on with the moon at that moment, right? Listen to your heart. And like I said, it's going to bring you back down to earth, and it's going to be maybe feel limiting, but there's going to be truth there. There is. And maybe it'll be a little bitter. Sometimes there's a bitterness when Saturn's involved, but also know that it's keeping you and giving you a sense of I don't want to say protection, but like security and a sense of pride in who you are as well. So let's look now at the full moon, because what we're watching here as the moon is traveling from this new moon is the relationship, feeling into the relationship with other, while these aspects of who you are, your voice, and how you utilize that resource are being played out right now. But this is give you an idea of what's to come ahead for Libra, and in particular, this full moon, like we talked about, in your 12th house of the collective unconscious and the astral. We also are going to see here that not only is that happening on the full moon, and we're about to have an equinox, right? Perfect. We're about to have an equinox, and the sun's going to come into your seventh house and meet Chiron right after that as well. So be ready for some serious ego battles and all kinds of fun stuff in your relationships, Libra, which is why this is all really important to pay attention to now. So what you've aligned with, what symbol that you intend to align with, what avatar represents who you want to be, and more importantly for you, Libra, who you want to be in your everyday life, how you want to bring that abstraction into your service or your daily life and your works. So when this moon is full, like I said, you are becoming like this prism that is going to refract visible light, this power, this energy into the, all of the wavelengths. And this implies that it's the power of the mind that's able to actually understand the multiplicity at the same time as the unity, if that makes sense. And it's in this process of yourself, within your own works, your own labor, your own training and your own practice that you will feel into, again, not only yourself but the collective unconscious voice and the astral, and whether or not you can pull yourself in. And this is again about being in the world but not of it. And I think that Libra, by this full moon, you're going to really see if your everyday life and your works is going to be is that the symbol that you think is going to carry it home, right? And you'll know because you'll feel it, and you'll feel it strong. It'll be very strong, and it'll be in probably the dreams or in the astral in some way, or you're just going to be like channeling emotions or old things as well. Old timelines, right? Old karma as well. It's going to just come through. And can you feel the difference between that and all of that? Because that's part of what you may be initiating for your service, is the ability to hold that. Oh, you'll find out. You will. You'll feel it, and it'll be obvious. So the other thing that's happening as we finish up here that I want to draw attention to is that Neptune as well is making a relationship to the nodal axis at the time of this full moon. So there's a lot of the sacred feminine. There's still these Pleiadian and Orion in particular starseed aspects that are active in this. And this is really about being realistic about your dharma and fully accepting your limitations, which in turn allows you to really centralize your focus with the astral, with the transcendental, with the spiritual, right? With this broad humanitarian aspect, and being realistic and being realistic about your potential, understanding your dharma. If we do nothing about this awareness, and Libra, you do nothing about it, really do nothing about it, yes, it's going to be like you're still going to get a deep view of where you've been, right? And a deep view where you've been in terms of your resources or your assets or what is inherently valuable to you. But if you do take this awareness and invest it, it is going to actually generate energy in terms of your soul's evolution. It's going to allow you to, it's once you centralize that focus and become realistic, it will actually release that energy into generating more and really encouraging your soul's evolution in this area. I think this is really important as well. So Libra, wow. I mean, it's really coming down to what who is it that you want to take after, or what symbolizes, the highest spiritual and most transcendent way of living out your daily life and practicing your works, and how to bring this transcendent role into your own everyday experience is going to be a big part of this. So wow. I feel like that your ability to generate real power and to evolve along the lines of realizing how much power is generated when we all come into communion with ourselves at a soul level. I think that you have some work that's going to happen. Another thing to keep in mind before I exit here also is that this new moon is in a trine to Sirius with Black Moon Lilith, right, in your 10th house. So there's something about your, deeply that you're deeply sensitive to, something that is protective about your profession and your career and your public life, that I think is absolutely worth allowing some expression or a connection to. I think would be even more in some ways, or what you've built and been part of building so far. I think that you can find a lot of strength and stability from that position that will absolutely emotionally stabilize this new, or this new initiation and initiating growth along these lines of becoming a symbol of in your own life of this transcendental or this spiritual ideal. So Libra, I'm going to leave it there for you. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate all of you. If you're interested in a reading, if you're interested in energy work to support your process, you can find me at catalystenergies.net. You can find me on Telegram. That's also in the description box below. And also a free astrology summit, the link to Subscribestar, everything you need is down there and at my website at catalystenergies.net. So thank you for watching, Libra. I'll see you on the next video, which will be the full moon in Virgo on the 18th of March. Until then, take care of yourself. I know you will. Bye.